Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the first timers. I wanted to make this video what to watch just in case you just finished your favorite show that you've been binging on and don't know what to watch now. So I'm gonna give you all a list of shows that you all should check out. These are Netflix shows, and I think they're really awesome. All right, so the next show is Lovesick. I think you all should watch. It is also based in London. It is a romantic comedy, so to speak. So it follows this guy named Dylan and his two best friends. And so it starts off with Dylan at the clinic getting tested. Come to find out, Dylan has an STD. So the lady is telling him he needs to recount all of the females who he's been, romantic with in the last 2 years or so. So the show is the process of him contacting all of these women that he's been romantically involved with over the last 2 years and telling them that, hey, you need to go get checked. I just found out that I have an STD. And so the show follows him calling all of these girls, but when he's making the phone call, it also goes back into a flashback of how he met them and what their relationship was. And it's really amazing. I've never seen anything like it personally. It was really different and refreshing to see his stories, because Dylan, he is like a hopeless romantic. Seriously. So he dates these women hoping, it can be something more, possibly marriage. And he's a really sweet guy. And so he's really wanting to be with them, long term and have something really special with them. And with none of these females, nothing like that ever works out. So, like I said, it just follows this guy named Dylan and his two best friends and all of the crazy things that they have going on in their life. And Dylan telling these women that he has something and to make sure that they don't have anything, and how they met and all of the hilariousness that they get into. It's a really amazing show. I don't even know where to begin with this show. So pretty much it's about this woman named Lulu. This is a British comedy, by the way. There's a woman by the name of Lulu who's coming in town to visit her childhood best friend by the name of Anthony, who is now engaged. Now, Anthony and his fiance live in this kind of 2 weeks from being torn down hospital situation that like 20-something people rent out for like low income rent. And they live here, and so Lulu shows up and they're doing like a whole party situation with all of the tenants, and the story just kind of progresses through, you're my best friend, but I like you, and that whole situation, and just the process of it and all the other crazy tenants and their background and what they have going on in their love life. And it's a really crazy show. And I think the craziest part about it that really makes it super interesting, because other than that, it's just basic relationships. I like you, you like me, but I'm not saying anything because you're taken, and, that whole basis thing. But what really makes it interesting for me was that they lived in like a almost shut down hospital. I mean, essentially it was shut down. It wasn't being used as a hospital, because it's actually a hospital, it's being used as like an apartment housing. And so that made it really kind of crazy for me. It was almost like a huge hostel that they lived in. And then, of course, all of the different characters that they have staying there. They have an artist. They have a guy who he's like, yeah, I'm macho. All of the women want me kind of guy. And the stories are super bananas. But I really love the show. It was really, really good. And the last show that I will leave you all with is called 3%. Now, when I first read the synopsis for 3%, I automatically thought Hunger Games, because you have a group of people living on this side of the island who are essentially, they're poor. They're looking for scraps, and then you have a whole nother side of society that are very extremely well off and they have nothing to worry about. So when I read the synopsis about 3%, that automatically thought Hunger Games. But I was like, you know what? Let me not write it off. You have a group of people, the majority of society that lives on the mainland, which is poor. And then the 3% that lives in prosperity lives somewhere called offshore. Now, in order for them to go from the mainland to the offshore to be that special 3%, they have to go through exams, a multitude of exams, which is why I say I think it's going to be like Hunger Games, but they have to go through a multitude of exams, but it's not quite like Hunger Games. It's not all physical, and I know Hunger Games wasn't necessarily all physical, so to speak. They had to think and figure things out, but I would say this show 3% is definitely more so a mental game for them, because it was a lot of physical things, but they really had to think and be logical thinkers and think out of the box. For these people, and actually most of them are kids or young adults. The age of the people that were there were between, I would say, between 20 and 25. I would say it wasn't any older people. There weren't any people in their 30s. It was definitely a younger crowd. And they had to do a lot of different games and exams. And like the first exam is, the first exam was pretty much like an interview. So you sit down in front of a person. They have, this fancy screen that's, almost like you're in jail, but not really where it's like clear and see-through or whatnot. But on the person who's interviewing you side, they have all these like words going across and not necessarily telling them what to say, but kind of giving them feedback on whether or not you're doing good or doing bad and whether they should press you and ask you more questions, and it lets them know whether or not you pass. And I think the hardest thing perhaps for me at first, just initially watching the first episode, was seeing the people get eliminated on that first round of interviews. Like, you can imagine they were bugging out. Like, they were going ape. They were going ape because they were getting eliminated. And that was like the first exam. It's like something like 8 or 10 tests that they have to go through. So to be eliminated on the first try or the first go around, the first exam to be eliminated was really hard on a lot of the kids. And they'll be like, oh, give me another chance. I mean, they were going ballistic. And they'll be like, I'm sorry, you've been eliminated. You didn't make the cut. Try again, next time kind of situation. And for me, when I was watching a lot of the things, I was like, well, why didn't they, make it? I thought they were doing good personally, but for whatever reason, they weren't cut out to be, to go past to the next phase. And so, I mean, it was just crazy because you could see, you knew it was complete devastation. That's like their chance to get off. That's their chance to get out of poverty and to go to the offshore, and you just snatched that away from them on the first try. So that was really deep. It was really deep, and it was kind of really heartbreaking to watch. And this is set in a really futuristic world, by their clothes and everything. Even the place that they're doing the exam in is really futuristic and really nice. But yeah, they have. Oh, it's this one. Okay, so it's not a spoiler, but it's this one particular exam where I thought they were probably going to fail. Because a lot of them were having hallucinations of hearing things and having flashbacks. But they all had to get out of that place together. So it was no one man takes it all. All of them had to get out together. And I was really nervous that they weren't going to make it because the gas that they put in there to make them, hallucinate really had them all messed up in the game, and even after the fact. So you'll see that once you watch the show. But it was really different from Hunger Games. I think the basis for the most part was still the same. Half of the people living in poverty and only 3% living in prosperity and doing well. And what they had to do to make that transition from poor to being well off was really something else for me. And there is a trade-off at the end that they would have to make ultimately for them to go to the offshore. And you'll see that. And I wonder, once you watch that, and would you be able to make that sacrifice in order to go to the offshore once you got to the end and passed all of your exams? Yeah, so let me know. Share with me if you've seen any of these shows. What you thought about the show. Yeah, give it a thumbs up if you liked the video, and I'll see y'all next time.